What's up, guys? Welcome to the Chess Giant. This is Solomon Erdell, and in today's video we have our first ever subscriber game analysis. What on earth is that? Well, every couple of weeks we're planning on reviewing and analyzing one of your games. It can be on Chess, chess.com, a game with a friend, a tournament game, any game of yours that you want to see analyzed on this channel. Just copy and paste the game notation in the comment section below. Our first game comes from the crab opening, which starts off with a4 followed by h4, and we've actually reviewed this opening on the channel. When I first posted a video about the crab opening, I thought it was very bad. I mean, when you think about good sound chess strategy, you typically don't think of the moves a4 and h4, but after playing this opening and reviewing it, I actually think that it's a pretty interesting option for white. You're gaining space on both the queen side and the king side, and there's no real easy way for black to spot a weakness and attack your king. I think that this is a very solid opening. And first off, shout out to my guy Invalid User for sharing this game. I think that he really highlighted why the crab opening is so dangerous. This game continued with d5, and I personally recommend this d3 followed by e3 idea after a move like bishop d6 and knight d2. The whole idea is that we're ready to lock the position up whenever needed. If e4, we have d4, and if d4, we have e4. We're going to lock this position up, develop the pieces, and at the right time, look to create some counterplay. But here my guy played a very interesting option, almost like a reverse Carl Khan with c3, and I actually really like this variation that he played. Enter knight f6, we have d4, fighting for the center of the board, but not really breaking things open too much. After bishop d6, the game continued with d takes e5, and following bishop takes e5, the natural developmental move, knight f3, developing this knight and attacking the bishop on e5, and following bishop d6, retreating the bishop, bishop g5, pinning the knight on f6 to the queen on f6. Now here I believe the best move for black would probably be knight f d7, because right now we're threatening to play bishop takes f6, followed by queen takes d5. But here, black didn't see this and played h6. So my guy played bishop takes f6, followed by queen takes d5. And honestly, black may have planned this. I mean, following castling kingside, it appears as if black is ahead in development. Black can continue with moves like knight c6, rook d8, bring this bishop into the game. Black is looking to create an attacking edge, and the pawn on h4 here makes the king a little bit vulnerable if we castle kingside. So I can see why black wanted to go into this variation, but here Invalid User played pretty flawlessly for the rest of this game, first playing knight bd2, by far white's best option, and the idea is now white can play knight e4, a very nice move, centralizing the knight and attacking both the queen on f6 and the bishop on d6. Following queen e7, we see knight takes d6, and now black has an interesting option. Does black want to play queen takes d6, or does black want to take back with the pawn? Here black played the right move with c takes d6. We as white are up a pawn, and if you're up material, you want to trade down to make the game more simple and easier to win. And if you're down material, you don't want to trade down. So here black went with the smart option of not trading down and preserving attacking chess ideas. But here white plays e3. And following bishop e6, attacking our queen on d5, many would be tempted to simply go back with a move like queen to d2 or queen to d1 and try to hold on in this game. But sometimes in chess, the best defense you can play is offense. And here we see queen e4 followed by bishop d3. White's not playing passive by putting the queen on d1 and the bishop on e2, castling kingside and just trying to hold on, but putting the bishop on d3, queen on e4, and threatening a mate in 1. Now f5 can't be played because the bishop on e6 would fall. So now we see the move g6 followed by queen f4. Brilliant move, really activating this queen, putting pressure on both the isolated pawn on d6 and the pawn on h6. We see king g7 and now h5 from white, really starting to put the pressure on black, slowly turning the temperature up. And now it may be tempting for black to play a move like g5, but g5 doesn't work because now we have knight takes g5 with the idea of taking back with the queen. And because of our active bishop on d3, taking away both g6 and h7, we have king h8, followed by queen h6, queen h7, and we have a game over. So here black played very wise defensive chess with the move rook h8, defending the pawn on h6. And we now see from white h takes g6, and after f takes g6, queen g3. Going a move back, we have to look at the opponent's position and go, okay, where are the weaknesses in my opponent's position? Well, here the pawn on g6 is pretty weak, as well as the pawn on d6. So here white goes with queen g3, keeping the pressure on both the g6 pawn and the pawn on d6. Here black goes with knight e7, looking to defend the pawn on g6, and white continues to play active developmental chess, attacking the opponent's weaknesses with knight d4, centralizing this knight and attacking the hanging bishop on e6. And after bishop d7, we now have knight b5, attacking the queen on c7 and the pawn on d6. So here, black wisely captures the knight, not trying to lose the pawn on d6, but simply make a trade. And we now have a takes b5. Now, usually in chess, you wouldn't want to double your pawns. But here we're a pawn ahead, and by doing this, we're activating our rook on a1, attacking the pawn on a7. And just look at the activity in general of the white pieces. We have a very active a-rook, a very active h-rook, an active queen on g3, attacking both g6 and d6, and an active bishop on d3. Here, black is under fire. And we see queen c5 looking to somehow climb back into this game. And in this position for white, we currently have 3 attacking pieces against the king on g7 with a rook on h1, queen on g3, and a bishop on g6. So when we're playing attacking chess, we want to mount as many pieces as possible against the opponent's king. But which piece of ours isn't really doing much? Well, the answer is the rook on a1. So here, from Invalid User, we see a beautiful idea, really thinking outside the box with rook a4. I love this move, rook lifting, not to the 3rd rank like usual, but the 4th rank, bringing this rook to a4, where it can come to e4, f4, g4, or h4. Love this move for white. And following knight f5, we now have queen f3, putting pressure on this pawn on b7, and following rook a b8, rook c4, attacking the queen on c5. If queen takes b5, we have rook c7 check, and if queen b6, we can simply snatch the knight off on f5. So we see queen e5 from black, really trying to centralize the queen, protect the knight on f5, and keep everything together. But now white is simply winning this game with rook c7 check, attacking the king, and following king f6, g4, advancing our pawn. Notice how we haven't even castled in this game. The king and rook both not even moving yet. And really with g4, we're looking to pin this knight on f5. And after d5, we now see rook c5. We could take the knight on f5, and this isn't a bad move. In fact, white still has the advantage, but our rook on c7 would fall. So now we have rook c5, and again, the pressure mounting, a rook on c5 attacking that d5 pawn. We have the bishop, queen, and pawn all attacking that knight, and a very active rook on h1 attacking the h6 pawn. So following rook bd8, white takes that knight off the board, and now, again, plays rook h5. We always have to assess our current positioning of the pieces, and right now we have 3 attacking pieces. We have a rook on c5 that we brought into this game, a bishop on d3, and a queen on f3. But this rook can be a little bit more active. I mean, the rook is not a bad piece at all. It's putting pressure on h6. But by playing rook h5, we're now putting pressure on both h6 and f5. And here, white continues to roll with great attacking chess, taking the pawn on f5, and following queen e6, playing queen f4. Again, just slightly making the position a little bit better. Our queen on f3 isn't quite as good as a queen on f4. So we see queen f4, and following rook hf8, rook c7 check, attacking the king. If king e8, we simply take the rook and we have a game over. So now we see rook d7, in which white now takes the rook off on f8. And after rook takes c7, Invalid User continues with queen takes c7 check, attacking the king. And we now see white just pick off the pawns with queen takes b7, queen takes a7. And here black tried to create some checks against our king with queen g1. But following bishop f1, we see that this king is very secure. And after queen g6, and queen d4, black resigned this game. I love this game from Invalid User. Very well played. Really shows why the crab opening is so dangerous. And black could have played a move like queen b1 check and try to create some kind of perpetual, but here white's simply winning. I mean, we have king e2, and if queen takes b2 check, attacking our king, we can just bring the king to f3. And following a move like queen b1, bring our bishop out to d3, and if queen d1 check, play king g2. And following a move like queen h5, notice how queen to g4 couldn't be played because our queen is defending that square. We now play b6. We're 2 moves away from promotion, and there's just no way for black to get a perpetual check here. White will go on to win this game. If you'd like to learn more about the theory behind the crab opening, click the video to the left. If you'd like to explore more chess openings in general, click the playlist to the right. Leave a comment to let me know what other videos you'd like to see covered on this channel. And as always, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.